DuPont innovation lowers LCOE by increasing cell efficiencies and system lifetime while reducing total system cost. Materials matter.
That is, for me, the show of industry.
Hello and welcome to this PV Tech Newscast special, which comes with highlights from last week's Intersolar Europe. The show was attended by around 50,000 people from over 150 countries, with more than 1,300 exhibitors. Uncertainties over the impact EU anti-dumping duties will have on the European market continued to be debated at Intersolar. But at a pre-show event in Munich held by Solar Media, the UK's Minister for Energy and Climate Change, Greg Barker, drove home to attendees that the UK would lead PV in Europe through to 2020 with a planned 17 gigawatts of new capacity.
I'm pleased to say that despite the challenges, Britain's solar industry is growing at an extraordinary pace. From almost no deployment in 2010, we now have over 2.5 gigawatts of solar capacity across the UK. This already puts us firmly in the top 10 markets around the world. And unlike more mature markets around Europe, such as Germany, we have much, much further to go. If we can continue to work together with industry to drive down costs, the UK government estimates that we have the potential to deploy a staggering total of 20 gigawatts by the early 2020s. That's 17.5 gigawatts more than we have today, potentially within the next decade. That is a big, hairy goal to aim for.
This bullish forecast was reiterated at the Intersolar opening ceremony and was translated worldwide. Speakers and attendees at the Doing Solar Business in the UK pre-show event had this to say.
We've been in the UK for about 2.5 years so far, and it's been a bit of a bumpy ride, but this year we're actively developing quite a large pipeline of our own projects, and we're also looking for EPC opportunities, which we've done a number of as well. I think the biggest challenges we have, and lots of people always mention it, is grid connections and the public acceptability of larger schemes. Obviously, ROC and feed-in tariff aren't going to go up, so only going to go down, and ultimately we need to reach grid parity. So costs do need to come down. There are a number of factors, anti-dumping duties potentially is one of them, which means that will come down at the moment quite slowly potentially. So we need to look at other aspects of our projects, not just the PV modules, but other areas we can save cost and still maintain quality. The module selection is quite sensitive for investors. They need to be confident in the product. But ultimately, we're not only using the cheapest solution, we're using the most appropriate for what we do, which is utility scale. So it needs to be very bankable, cost effective, but also very high quality. And the reason we've bought a lot of products from China in the past is because actually they are some of the highest quality, best manufactured products you can buy.
You could argue that from a module supply perspective, if you isolate whatever's going to happen in Europe and say, is that going to have a major influence long term? The answer is probably no. And that is because it is just yet another thing that's come into an industry that's never had stability in the first place. The UK in Q1 did 520 megawatts, 400 was large-scale ground mount, a lot of that was above 5 megawatt. So this is where the demand comes from in the next 7 to 8 years, 2.5 gigawatts per year. Out of the whole UK ground mount project pipeline, I have not found a single case where the project has been cancelled on the back of fear behind duties being introduced by the European Union. Granted, we're still in a temporary phase and there's still a lot of uncertainty and it's not good, but we're not at the point where we can say for sure, let's take off that expected demand over the next 12 months. It might happen in a few months' time when everything's finalised, but right now it's not having an immediate impact. And there's a lot of Europeans, there's a lot of Koreans, there's a lot of Taiwan manufacturers who would love to make more modules tomorrow to supply the UK market.
Strategies are emerging for Chinese module suppliers to circumvent anti-dumping duties in the EU, as well as companies throughout the supply chain looking at emerging markets for business growth.
Now CSUN, we spent 8 years' time in the European markets. Now we are moving from these mature markets to new markets like Latin America, like South Africa, and of course Chinese market. Geographically, we think you must near your customer. It's a very simple reason. And in other words, why the anti-dumping, potential anti-dumping from the European Commissioning? Because European government also wants the company help them to solve the employment problems, okay? And if you want to eat the first crab in the new markets, you must show you are very loyalty and very friendly, want to cooperate with the local government. We are still studying the custom tax issues. So far, we don't have the exact answers, but we really hope in the future we can supply the modules from Brazil to the other countries like Chile, maybe like Argentina, some other countries. Currently, because it's our new factory, we are still in the process of testing. So the cost of the factory is a little bit higher. So they are waiting, CSUN could be lower the cost in the future time. But some clients, like a big one, I cannot say the name here, okay? And most of them, they are utility companies. They can accept this price because they are directly to face the residential users. They have enough margin to buy the module from Turkey. So I think it's quite positive.
There are a couple of markets which are very interesting. We are very strong positioned in Eastern Europe and where we really have a market-leading position. But also there are the emerging markets. So India, we have a factory in Bangalore in India, and doing very well. India is growing very fast, and that is one of the fast growth countries for solar in the world. We're looking, of course, at China. We're looking at Japan, where the growth is. Then we have South Africa, a factory in South Africa, very well positioned for round 3 projects there. And not to forget the United States. And last but not least, not to forget, our market in Europe. Despite, the fall of Germany and Italy, still doing business, of course, mainly in Germany, but also other European countries, Romania, Bulgaria, and so on. If you really look at the history of solar, then you actually see that the estimations, the expectations that the industry had on the growth has always been outperformed.
And that's all until Friday. Keep checking the PV Tech website for more Intersolar news, product reviews and post-show analysis. Thanks for watching.